Something that feels nice and restorative for you. Feel free to use the props if they are advantageous. And we'll just find our way into a nice, fluid, easy breath. Give ourselves about 60 more seconds here, just settling in. Let's bring our knees into a bent position if they're not already there. We'll give a little dynamic movement. And then we'll let the knees fall over to one side or the other, whatever side feels best for you. And from there, we'll press ourselves up into seat, into staff. And from staff, let's extend our legs straight out in front of us and just follow that forward into a fold that feels appropriate. Just whatever gives you the best ability to feel some expansiveness. And then we'll walk ourselves back up into vertical. And let's transition to, let's go to hands and knees tabletop. So we'll, this will be as active as we get today. Just a little tabletop shape. Help us transition to some other stuff. Play the fingers out and let's just move through some cat-cow, getting that big back expansion, extension, flexion. And moving here with your breath, making sure that that means you can travel wherever and however best suits your body this morning. And then we'll come back to neutral and send our legs out in front of us once again. And I think from here, we're going to head straight on to our backs, but let's have our ball and our blanket handy. Blanket's going to come from shelf fold to hot dog fold to block fold. So you end up with a block on the left side of your body. And then finding your way back into your spine. Note the difference, how your spine feels just after that little flexion, extension, articulation. I really like to appreciate how just that little bit of movement, that one series, we'll say, can make such an impact. And then let's make sure that our right knee is pointed straight up in line with that hip joint, and let the left knee fall out wide. Onto onto the waiting blanket would be a better way to describe that. So left knee's falling onto that waiting blanket. And we're just going to stay with this asymmetry for a moment. Arms can be a cactus or down by your side. It could be a T. Palms up would be my recommendation. Letting your body just soften and relax here. Feeling into this asymmetry. We're going to play with asymmetry a little bit today. And then when it feels appropriate for you, we're going to let the right knee fall out wide. So the right knee is unsupported, and because of that, will very likely have an asymmetrical placement. It may be it's very likely that it's more open than the left, but it's theoretically possible that the right would not open as much as the left because the left has taken up the slack of the system. So just paying attention to how that feels, how this Baddha Sukhasana asymmetrical version feels. And then finding our way into some fluid and easy breath. 20 seconds here on this first side. When it's appropriate, we'll bring the knees back up to neutral. Switch our block-like structure to the second side. And then left knee points straight up, right knee falls open, arms open up to an equitable position that feels supportive for you. And we just breathe. Nice, fluid, easy breaths here. It feels appropriate. Let's let the left knee fall out wide again. Just noting the asymmetry here. Second side's a little bit different because we did open that right side a little bit more. So there's some slack in the system. The left leg may fall a little bit further than the right. About 15 more seconds here on side two. And when it feels appropriate, knees come back to neutral. And let's roll straight over onto our bellies. Finding our way to Sphinx, elbows underneath the shoulders, palms down. And just a nice, comfortable shape here. So there's a little activation in the glutes. There's a little activation in the quads. The head placement is what is most provides the best integration of the lumbar. So if that's low, that's great. If that's high, that's great. The lumbar does not feel compression. The lumbar feels like it is expanding, and that's the key here. And then we're just back into this easy fluid breath. And so there's this apprentice to this yogi who has been studying with her for coming up on a decade. And she's about ready to graduate him on. And before she does that, she has one final task, or this little test, so that he can put his knowledge to work. And so she tells him that he's going to go out into the jungle without any food, without any water, without any additional resources. And he's going to learn his final lesson. And so he asks her, what am I expected to learn? And she says, the key is you go into the jungle will present you with the lesson, and you will know when you've come across this lesson because of your yogic awareness. Last 20 seconds here. And when it feels appropriate, we're just going to slide our hands underneath our forehead and let our forehead come down onto our stacked hands. Little crocodile. And we just breathe. About 60 more seconds here. And when it feels appropriate, we'll just press ourselves up into tabletop. And then we're going to spin around so that we end up back in staff. While we're in staff, let's take our blanket. We'll unfold it to hot dog fold. And then from hot dog fold, come like 2/3 of the way up the blanket. and fold that in half. So you end up with like a little ramp. And that's going to come back, and that will be our head support in a minute. And then we're going to take ourselves forward into another seated forward fold. And this one may feel a little bit different. Hopefully we've opened up a little bit more space in the lumbar. And then we'll bring ourselves back to a vertical spine. Couple choices here. So depending on how your neck and head feel, we're looking for a little bit of an upper back bend. We can lower ourselves down so that the head falls over the blanket and you get some more throat expansion. Head is likely still above the torso, so can help if you have some stuffiness in the breath. If that's not working for you, you can lower yourself down, still get that blanket underneath the back, and then use the blanket more as a pillow. So it just depends. If you have the capacity to get a little more neck expansion, you're a little bit higher. If it doesn't feel appropriate, you don't feel like you can breathe, you lower yourself down a little lower and still get that nice little upper back expansion. Just looking for a little bit of encouraged extension in the thoracic spine. Knees can be bent, bottoms of the feet can be together, legs can be extended, whatever feels best and most appropriate for you there. And then hands, kind of the same situation. Palms up is still my recommendation, but whatever feels right for you. Let me just draw some breath into the middle of the body. Last 60 seconds here. And then we'll just pick a direction to roll off our prop, whatever side feels best for you. Taking that prop out and setting it to the side for now, we'll grab our ball here. And the goal, I don't know if the hope is the right word. Goal's the wrong word. Hope's maybe the wrong word too, because hopefully you don't have any back pain at all, but you are experiencing some upper back pain. The intention of using that prop was to maybe call out some areas that have some tension. And then we're going to, if we're experiencing some signaling of pain, we're going to take that ball and we're going to place that right where that is. If we're not experiencing some pain, more free reign, right? Then we can put the ball wherever. And so we're just looking to be off the spinal column into some soft tissue, letting that ball set underneath us. And then whichever side you put the ball on, just move and explore with the arm. See if you can get some nice engagement of that musculature. Hoping to tack down that musculature and then pull it into range by moving the arm so that we get some expansiveness. And when you find a spot that feels particularly sensational, and sensational maybe not in the most positive term, you can hang out there, explore that a little bit. Where you can go through internal and external rotation. You can take those big arching or full ranges, just kind of depends on what arm movement is corresponding with the sensation change. And so the next morning, this yogi does as he was directed. He doesn't take anything with him other than the clothes he's wearing. He heads out into the jungle and he starts observing the jungle for this lesson he's supposed to learn. And he walks a great deal into the jungle and observing everything and trying to take in macro and micro perspectives of this jungle world. But nothing really jumps out as a lesson. And as the sun's starting to set on the first day, he's very hot, he's very tired, he's very dehydrated. He sees this little opening in the jungle. And at the edge of the opening, there's this huge tree. He sits down underneath that tree just to enjoy a little bit of shade, and maybe he plans on staying there for the night. He's not sure yet. When it feels appropriate, we can take that ball out from underneath our first side, let the body come back, and just try to feel the difference in the side you've worked on and the side you haven't worked on. Sometimes it can be very dramatic, as if you're tilting to the side you've worked on. And then we'll fix that by taking the ball over to the second side. Again, if you have sensation coming from a particular spot, head there. If you don't, congratulations. You get the opportunity to search around with that ball until you find the most ideal spot for you. And then we're going to do some similar arm movements to just activate that musculature that you've tacked down with that ball pressure. And we're just exploring and ranging. So he sits down under this tree. It's been quiet in this little field, like almost alarmingly quiet. And then he hears this rustling of the leaves. It's not that far from him, 15, 20 feet. He gets up to go explore what's making this noise. He comes across this fox laying down in these leaves. And he jumps back, kind of startled. Fox doesn't move. And he explores or observes this fox more closely. And he sees that it's limbless. And almost instantaneously, as his brain makes this connection that this fox is limbless, this huge lion appears in the clearing. It's holding this dead rabbit. And he backs away from the fox and kind of tries to disappear into the canopy of the jungle. And the lion pays him no attention at all. It comes and drops this rabbit in front of the fox. It turns around and heads back into the jungle. And instantaneously, he knows this spot, this miracle he just observed, is the spot where he's going to glean the lesson from the jungle. Last 30 seconds here. And when it feels appropriate, we'll take that ball out from underneath side two, let the body relax back onto your spine. Feel all of that work you've done. Let's grab our blanket once again. We'll kind of help with the spine by taking the blanket, folding it into that block-like shape once again, placing that between the knees, and then taking the feet out to the width of the mat. And just letting the neutrality of your spine settle in here. Really relaxing into how your spine settles. And so upon seeing this, he makes the determination he's not going to leave this little clearing until the lesson from this jungle is presented to him, becomes apparent to him. And so he sits back down underneath that big shade tree. And he observes the fox Sun sets the next morning. Sun comes up, the fox is still there. And as the sun sets on that next day, the lion presents itself. It has another rabbit. It drops it for the fox and it disappears back into the jungle. And it's no less amazing the second time he sees it than the first. In fact, he's almost impressed more that it happened twice than that it happened once. When it feels appropriate, let's grab that blanket out from our knees. So as little disturbance as we can here. We'll walk the feet back in so they can be next to each other. We'll take the blanket out to like towel width. So from shelf fold unfolded once, and then we're gonna roll that for a little supported butterfly. Probably my favorite propped shape. And I just love it so much because it provides so bottoms of the feet together, knees fall out wide, blankets over the top of the ankles, and then you just wrap the edge of the blanket underneath the ankles there. And I love this shape because it provides so much support with such minimal propping requirement. We can make a towel or a blanket really offer ease to the entirety of the body. And I think that's a pretty special thing. We'll give ourselves just 60 more seconds here. And when it feels appropriate, let's bring our knees back to neutral. We'll slide that blanket out and just let the knees travel a little side to side. A little rocking motion here. Just dynamically exploring that lumbar rotational capacity. And then we'll let the knees fall over to the left. And as they fall over to the left, we'll just really think about anchoring ourselves here with our right shoulder. And then we'll bring our knees back to neutral and let the knees fall over to the second side, the right side. And we'll settle there, anchoring ourselves to our left shoulder. And then we'll bring our knees back to neutral. And as the knees come back to neutral, let's make a fist with our left hand and let the left thumb poke up. And we'll take the left thumb and place that at the bottom of the right nostril. So I am not mirroring here. And then we are going to inhale in through the left nostril, trying to send that breath to the center of the forehead. When you fully inhaled in, we'll switch the left hand to the right nostril, to the left nostril, excuse me, and then we'll exhale out through the right nostril. Inhale in through the right. Switch the placement and exhale out through the left. Inhale in through the left. Switch the placement and exhale out through the right. Inhale in through the right. And exhale out through the left. Inhale into the left. Switch the placement and exhale out through the right. Inhale into the right. Switch the placement and exhale out through the left. And just continue at your pace. Inhaling in, drawing that to the center of your forehead, switching the placement and exhaling out. And then inhaling in from that second side. Complete one more cycle. And make sure that you end by exhaling out through the left nostril. And then when you feel complete, release yourself into a shape, into a space where you can appreciate some stillness. You can get ready for Shavasana. And so over the next few days, the same thing continued to happen. Every evening around sunset, this lion would appear. It would drop a rabbit in front of this fox, and then it would disappear into the jungle. And this yogi sat underneath this tree waiting for this lesson of the jungle to approach. Meanwhile, he became more and more dehydrated, more and more hungry. And eventually he didn't have the strength to keep himself seated anymore. He topples over. He tried to get up, but his muscles wouldn't work. They're too dehydrated, too malnourished. And he tried to call out for help, but his voice, his throat was too dry, his tongue was too dry. He could only like moan in agony. And so he's moaning in agony. And meanwhile, the yogi who sent him out into the jungle has started to get worried. And so she's out searching and she hears this sound of this horrific sound of someone in agony, and she starts making her way towards it. And with that, we'll just drift fully into your version of stillness. Following the sounds of this person in distress, something in distress anyway. This yogi makes her way over and she eventually finds her apprentice, crumpled on the ground, unable to get up. Clearly dehydrated and malnourished, she starts slowly offering water and hydration. Eventually, he finds the strength to sit up. He says, "What happened?" He says, "It's this amazing miracle here." He says, "Every night, just before sunset, this lion comes and it feeds this fox. And they look up and the sun's just about setting. And sure enough, the lion pops into the clearing. He's holding this rabbit. He drops it in front of this limbless fox. He turns around and he wanders back into the jungle. And he turns to his yogi teacher and he says, "This is an amazing miracle, isn't it? Is this what I'm supposed to learn from the jungle?" We'll start to bring some movement to our fingers and our toes, our wrists, our ankles, our elbows, knees, shoulders, hips, head, neck, eyes, jaws, eyes, jaw, tongue. Eventually, the entirety of the body will move, and we'll utilize that movement to transition from the shapes we are in back into a seat. And in this seated space, spine gets tall, breast gets fluid, eyes closed. And she looks back at this apprentice and she says, "This is certainly a miracle, but I'm not sure why you took the lesson of the wounded fox and not the generous lion." And with our next inhale, we'll bring our hands together, heart center. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you ensure that you are receiving the right message from the lessons you're learning, and see how that impacts your experience? Thank you so much for being a part of this morning's practice and for being you. Namaste. Happy Sunday, guys. Appreciate the heck out of you being here. Have a beautiful rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow night to move. Hope I see you soon.